The day I discovered Laura's affair began like any other. I was sitting in my office, the hours blurring together as I focused on spreadsheets and client calls. It was a typical Tuesday, and I had no reason to expect anything unusual. But then, while scrolling through my phone during lunch, I came across a message meant for someone else. Laura's phone was synced with mine. For some reason, something we had done years ago when we first got our smartphones. And I saw it. Can't wait to see you tonight. Mm, my heart skipped a beat. I read the message over and over, trying to make sense of it. It felt like a cruel joke, but I knew Laura's habits too well. She always signed her messages with initials when she was being playful or secretive. And M could only be Mark, a colleague from her office she had mentioned in passing, but never in detail. I spent the rest of the day in a haze, the spreadsheet columns merging into incomprehensible lines of numbers. My colleagues noticed my distraction, but I waved off their concerns, claiming I was just tired. Inside, I felt like I was falling apart. The woman I had loved for a decade, the mother of my children, was hiding something from me. When I got home, I saw Laura in the kitchen, humming softly as she prepared dinner. Her smile when she saw me was genuine, and for a moment I wondered if I had misunderstood everything. But the message was still there, a glaring reminder in my phone. Hey, how was your day? She asked, placing a kiss on my cheek. Long, I replied, forcing a smile. Yours? Busy as always, she said, turning back to chop vegetables. But I made your favorite tonight. Thought we could have a nice, relaxing evening. I nodded, the weight of my suspicions pressing down on me. Throughout dinner, I watched her closely, looking for any signs of deceit. But Laura was as she always had been, warm, attentive, and loving. It was hard to reconcile the woman sitting across from me with the one who had sent that message. After dinner, I told her I needed to go out for a bit, claiming I needed to clear my head from work. She seemed concerned, but didn't press further. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind racing. Finally, I decided to confront her. I couldn't live with this gnawing uncertainty. When I got back, Laura was in the living room, reading a book. She looked up as I entered, her brow furrowing with worry. Jack, are you okay? You've been acting strange all evening. I took a deep breath, my hands trembling. Laura, we need to talk. She put the book down, her expression shifting to one of confusion and concern. What is it? I pulled out my phone and opened the message. Who is Mark? Her face paled and she looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Jack, and I can explain. Then explain, I said, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and fear. Tears welled up in her eyes as she started to speak. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. I've been so lonely, Jack. You've been so busy with work, and I felt like you weren't there for me anymore. Mark was someone who listened, who made me feel important. Her words felt like a knife to my heart. I had been working long hours, trying to provide for us, but I never thought it would drive her into someone else's arms. So you cheated on me? I asked, my voice barely more than a whisper. Laura sobbed, burying her face in her hands. I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I needed you to know how sorry I am. I stood there, the weight of our shattered life pressing down on me. I need to think, I said, walking out the door. For the next few days, I stayed with a friend, trying to make sense of everything. The betrayal cut deep, but so did the realization that I had neglected Laura's emotional needs. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of anger, guilt, and sorrow. It was during this time that I reconnected with Emily, an old flame from college. We had lost touch over the years, but she reached out to me after seeing a distressed post I made online. We met for coffee, and talking to her felt like a breath of fresh air. She listened to me, offered comfort, and soon our old spark reignited. Emily was everything I needed, compassionate, supportive, and understanding. Being with her felt like healing, and for a while, I allowed myself to believe that I could start anew. We began seeing each other more frequently, and our relationship deepened. But every time I saw Laura's name flash on my phone, guilt gnawed at me. She sent messages pleading for a chance to talk, but I wasn't ready. I couldn't face her, not yet. Months passed, and my relationship with Emily blossomed. She was patient, never pushing me for more than I could give. We started talking about the future, and for the first time in a long while, I felt hopeful. But just as I was on the verge of fully moving on, Laura called with news that shattered my newfound stability. "Jack, I'm pregnant," she said. The world seemed to stop. I didn't know what to feel, anger, shock, or an overwhelming sense of responsibility. "How do you know it's mine?" I asked, my voice cold. "I haven't been with anyone else since then," she said, choking on her words. "Please, Jack, we need to talk." I went to see her, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Laura looked different, tired but resolute. She told me about her efforts to change, to become a better person, to rebuild the trust she had shattered. She admitted her loneliness and how it had driven her to seek comfort elsewhere, but she also expressed deep regret and a desire to make things right. "Jack, I know I've hurt you deeply, and I understand if you can never forgive me. But this child, it's a part of both of us. I want to give our baby a chance at having a family, even if we're not together." Her words stirred something in me. Despite everything, I couldn't ignore the fact that I was going to be a father. Emily deserved the truth, so I told her about Laura's pregnancy. She was heartbroken, but understanding, urging me to do what felt right for me and the baby. I was torn between the life I had started to rebuild with Emily and the responsibility towards my unborn child. In the end, I realized I couldn't abandon my child. I decided to move back in with Laura, to give our family a chance. It wasn't an easy decision, and it wasn't one made out of love for Laura, but rather out of love for the child we had created. Rebuilding trust with Laura was a slow and painful process. There were days when the weight of her betrayal felt unbearable, but we worked through it step by step. Emily and I remained friends, though our romantic relationship had to end. She moved on, eventually finding someone who could give her the love and stability she deserved. As the months passed, Laura and I found a new rhythm. The birth of our child brought us closer, reminding us of what we once had and what we could still build. It wasn't the life I had imagined, but it was one filled with hope, forgiveness, and the possibility of a new beginning. Years went by, and our family grew stronger. Laura and I attended counseling sessions, both individually and together, working through our pain and learning to communicate better. Our daughter Lily became the center of our world, and her laughter filled our home with a joy I hadn't felt in a long time. Despite the progress we made, there were still moments of doubt and insecurity. Trust, once broken, takes time to heal, and there were days when old wounds would resurface. But Laura's sincerity and her efforts to rebuild our relationship helped ease the pain. She was transparent about her actions, never shying away from difficult conversations. And slowly my heart began to soften. Emily remained a constant in my life, albeit in a different capacity. We continued to talk, sharing updates about our lives and supporting each other from afar. She eventually met someone new, a kind-hearted man who treated her with the love and respect she deserved. Seeing her happy brought me a sense of peace, knowing that she had found her own path to healing. One evening, after putting Lily to bed, Laura and I sat on the porch, the warm breeze carrying the scent of blooming flowers. It was a rare moment of tranquility, and we held hands, the silence between us comfortable and reassuring. "Jack," Laura said softly, breaking the silence, "I've been thinking a lot about the past few years, about everything we've been through. I know it's been hard, and I can't thank you enough for giving us another chance." I squeezed her hand, feeling a lump in my throat. "Laura, we've both made mistakes, but we've also grown. I see the effort you've put into rebuilding our trust, and I appreciate it more than you know." She leaned her head on my shoulder, and we sat there watching the stars twinkle in the night sky. It was in moments like these that I felt the depth of our connection, the resilience of our love despite the trials we had faced. As time went on, our relationship continued to evolve.